Hello, everyone, and welcome to She's of Love. Today we have Renee on again, which is really exciting. Every conversation we have is so enlightening. Um, yes, so today's topic of conversation, let's get right into it,
Yeah.
is around moving dense energy and transmuting dense energy as well, and like how to let go of it basically. Because I don't know. I think it's one thing to kind of recognize the denseness in you, but moving it is a whole different thing. And yeah, I don't know. I thought you would have some expertise in this a little bit. So why don't
Yeah.
we can just start from this and then we can go anywhere, any topic that we want. But yeah, what do you think about this topic? How do you move dense energy?
Wow. Well, making sure that my volume's up. Ooh, where do we start with energy? Okay, so maybe we start with someone like Einstein. We start with Einstein because I think it's relevant to this conversation. Okay, I love the fact that I've married an engineer. He and I talk energy all the time.
Yeah.
A chemical engineer who helps to make steel. So, so there's kind of there's that in what I'm bringing forth too. So even though I have my own understanding of the etheric energy side of things, which I've also worked in as a therapist because I've studied transpersonally and how trauma transmutes as well. And so I think we need to, and even just overnight, I was writing to a contact, I can't say what, but I was writing to contact about trauma. Okay, so, and how trauma works. So for years and years and years, we thought trauma was stored just in the brain, and Freud found you just talked about it, then often it was let go of. That's
Yeah.
because some of it's stored in the throat chakra, right? And then you let that out. The transpersonal, transformational, and other therapists, as well as the therapists out there, have actually found energy. Energy gets stuck in our body, even grief loss. You know, one of the biggest recommendations from counselors and psychologists these days is sleep, exercise, and if you're feeling down.
Mm, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually exercise that lets out of your body. Because if you've got trauma stuck, you don't want to be moping on the couch or sleeping all day,
Right.
actually. Even
Mm,
like it, even though you feel
Yeah.
like it, even though it sucks, and even though you might have a day or two of crying, or, a lot of, there's a lot of stuff going on in your life. And really, like, we all have, everyone of us, like, no therapist is immune. Um, the Pope, like the saying goes, the Pope takes a shit on the toilet. We all have stuff. Yeah. Um, but
Yeah.
but I actually believe this information has actually been moved to humanity on purpose.
yeah.
When we get closer to the fact that energy is stored in our body and can be removed, like,
Mm,
it gets shut down. So
Yeah.
this
yeah.
contact I was writing about exactly this. So
Mm,
that there's now major experts, best being, and I've got a special personal contact who's an intellect. Her name's Amber Gray, and I've done a lot of her training. She talks about the same thing. They're all talking about the same thing. And whilst she's like 10, 15 years old, are starting to perforate through the halls of psychology and counselling and psychotherapy because it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt to be evidence based. But some of this stuff mothers know instinctively. Go out for a
Yeah.
walk with the baby and pat the baby. Let's, it, it basically put that um, use it or lose it.
Yeah.
We
Mm.
to move. Our bodies are made to move. So when we're locked down, we can go there too. When we're locked, trauma is stored. It's
Yeah.
stored in our bodies,
That makes
in
so
our
much sense.
yeah. So, and what we're only allowed to go for an hour's walk, like let's I call BS on that one. You know,
Yeah.
needed to do the dancing. We needed to get this out. So
Yeah.
Mm.
we actually needed to go to the gym, and they shut the
Yeah.
gyms down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go there.
Yeah.
So energy
Yeah.
is so put another hat on as well because this is interesting, probably for you guys. But before being a therapist, teacher, I've done a lot of ice skating in my life. I feel these times to actually call this stuff out. We just need to move our bodies,
Mm.
but
Mm.
we've become more sedentary. Trauma's become,
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah. So the weight of the trauma. So the
yep,
way I'm looking at it is the weight of the trauma that we're
It
carrying.
gets heavier.
Yeah, it gets heavy, and then
yep,
it's harder to
yes,
move your body. It's harder to have that mental
yes,
capacity
yes,
to get up
yep,
Mm.
and move and dance.
I really really relate to what you're saying because recently I've actually started a gym membership like just 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I because before that I would always do at home workouts, and I was just like, I'm ready to step it up, I'm ready to commit further. And so when I on the days that I like really eat mindfully and healthy and like with home cooked meals, and it doesn't have to be rigidly healthy, like I'm just talking about
mm,
feel good
mm,
foods, nurturing foods.
mm, mm,
And I also go to the gym and I do exercise, and like like on the times and the days that I really commit to living the healthiest life that I possibly can. Because what usually happens, it will happen in a few days in a row, and then I'll slip up, and then it will be like another few days of just kind of walking the edge, and then another few days of doing really well. But on the cluster of days, I feel amazing. Like I feel really good, and I really feel that sense of like, oh, my trauma is not as prominent in my mind anymore, and I'm not thinking about negativity as much, and I'm just kind of living my best life.
mm.
Um, we can hear you, but your camera has
Yep.
just cut out. But
Okay. Well, I
yeah,
can see you and hear you,
yeah,
but it's just going up. That's okay. I think
it might be.
we can still. It's weird. It's like we've been talking about, and I think there's some lowering of the
Yes.
Wi-Fi access.
Yes.
Yes,
Interesting. Are we meant to be talking?
yes, and also, yeah, I also wanted to share with the audience about the Facebook thing that happened earlier. So, what happened was, when Renee came into the chat room before we went live, um, there was a bit of an issue, and it said that, like, she came in, but there was no sound or, like, visual. And there was a little pop up that told us that Renee was like that you had something
That you
else open that was using your phone and camera, and then
Yes.
what? Then so
You
you
closed it
closed
down.
all other tabs, and it turned out to be Facebook that was using your microphone and camera, even though you weren't like on a live or
You weren't
anything.
using
You
it.
weren't using it.
Facebook was using it.
That's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
And creepy.
Yeah, that's so wild.
Yeah, and
Yes,
creepy.
yes, and
Yes.
creepy.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we can get back to the topic at hand.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we just
I just,
wanted to say that.
yeah, so
Yes.
I
So
relate to everything that
mm,
you were saying.
there's so much in this conversation. I think it's very rich. So probably if you want to put it another way, um, we store trauma in all parts of our body. Something the other day that suggests, and there's new research that suggests, tenths stored in our mind. The 9/10 is
Right.
actually stored in our body. So if you
Yeah,
go
I
to
can
a
believe that.
therapist, it will only get rid of 2/10 of your trauma. How interesting is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even with all the latest techniques, and sorry if I go down rabbit holes here, but if you've received EMDR or any of it's good, but it's not enough because it only uses the eye, full body experience. So the retreats I used to run are probably better, more people. And if you go to retreats filled, let's just say like active, ecstatic dance and things like that, you're more likely
Mm,
more
Yeah.
than just going to a therapist. I'm a therapist and I'm still advocating for therapy because but it's like therapists and psychologists need to start talking to you, multi-pronged approach to let your trauma go. Multi-pronged.
yeah. So you need to have a bigger view. You need to have a bigger view of the
Mm,
mind, body, and spirit all together at the same time
yep,
and
yep.
tackle each level instead of
Mm.
just concentrating on one aspect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So that's not surprising.
no, talks about, just go back to Einstein talks about, and go into the kind of stuff, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
there's, we're like literally living in energy right now. In my textbook that I wrote about working online, a lot of people said you couldn't do it. But the thing is, it's not that much different to sit in a room with your therapist if you're doing online therapy. However, it's about how do you make up for the difference? How do you make up for what's
Mm,
not there? And some of my to this, so it's interesting you bring in energy. Some of my research talks to
yeah.
this around the lives. And isn't it fascinating that I don't get in on this one?
Yeah.
So the liminal you at the moment, and if you want to think about it like this, um, if you were in the same room, me at the moment, so if people are watching the same room with someone, the energy is very different. Still picking up
Yeah.
lots of different cues and signs and, you know, that kind of stuff between the two of us now, right? Two of you guys and me. So we're still picking up on, but there's this kind of edge where, well, I can't tell what you guys are doing um, behind you or around you, or who else might be sitting right beside you, or any of those kind of things.
Mm,
That where it's really interesting in the online space, and even us doing now. So if energy is neither created nor destroyed, we can also change back energy to how we used or how we want to be.
mm,
Where people say, I've lost motivation, this and that, that's more merely stuff talking than about it not being a positive. Interesting, hey?
wow,
So,
that's incredible.
so
So,
yeah,
sorry, Renee, just to recap on what you're saying there and
yeah,
how I'm receiving it, what
yeah,
you're saying is, regardless of our programming
Mm.
and what we tell ourselves, the story that we tell
yeah,
ourselves,
yeah,
we are in control 100% in control of
Yep.
how this trauma can move through our body and
Yes.
how we can
Yes.
heal from it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's good
Yes.
news.
that's incredible.
It's great news. We are told by the powers that be,
Yeah. Yes.
trauma's hard to get through, work through. Yes and no. It takes time, but that's about
Yeah.
it. But you
Yeah.
have to find a recipe for yourself, collectively traumatized and under
Yes.
Stockholm syndrome. We need to call that out.
Yeah.
So Stockholm syndrome when people push back. So karma effect. We need to start even
Mm.
energetically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you.
I,
So I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
but just I really think that it's important that you said that we have to cause karma because everyone is so scared to create karma. It's like such a no, you know, but it needs to happen. Like it's an ebb and flow of life. It's part of the journey here on the planet. And also you
Mm,
can
mm.
create good karma too. Like I don't
Yes.
understand the
Yeah, well, I think the
I,
important thing is just not to be afraid of it.
yeah,
Don't be
yeah.
scared of it. If we can understand
Exactly.
something, if
Yep.
we can pay attention and have the intention to understand
yeah,
and find out, then we can instead of being afraid, we turn it into curiosity.
yeah,
We can learn
Exactly.
how to harness certain things and how to work with energy and how
yeah,
to
Exactly.
inject ourselves into that part of life
yeah.
and
Yep.
create something with it.
And also
Exactly.
like we're facing in this spiritual warfare, our
Yeah.
adversary is insane. Like they're literally
Yes.
insane. The amount of
Yeah.
shit that they've caused on this on to
Yep.
humans. Like you got to do some dirty stuff to
Yeah.
get back. Like it's not going to be a clean fight all the time.
This is
Like you've
not going
got
to be clean.
to yeah,
Mm. I love what you
yeah,
guys have brought in. Just um, but maybe taking another way is it's not about witchy energy either, which is also probably
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
fascinating
yeah,
for
of
you
course.
guys to hear too.
Yeah, which is why we changed our name.
Yeah,
That's
which is
why we changed the name of our channel.
yeah, yeah, which is just the
Yeah.
energy of has energy. The tree, picks up the wind and might flow in the breeze. Um,
Yeah.
uh, trees themselves have their own neural network with other trees. They've
Yeah.
discovered this with permaculture people, and like, there's network ground in a natural, and
Yeah.
nature fights back sometimes too when we
Yes.
natural stuff on it. So
Yes.
the powers that be have got to be careful because they're starting to back from a natural place, but also there's even that are coming to the fore as well around lots of different things. I'm sure we could go down another rabbit hole, but I won't go there today. Like it's a whole other thing. But there's all sorts of natural things happening, and I guess I'm more of the opinion if you are pure of heart. So if you
Yeah.
if you are pure of heart, I believe that's what the message was. That if you are
Yeah.
pure of heart and you protect
Mm.
energy, your own energy field, your Akashic records. So what people don't realize is the powers that be have like trade and shocked the human records. That's fucking sacred shit that they're
Yeah.
impacting. We are data beings. We can create whatever we want,
Mm. Yeah.
but generally we do it better together. And the problem,
Yes.
the reason for this great separation of humanity they are fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
And
matter
that's the
which
whole 1%
way we take.
thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly,
That's the whole 1%
exactly.
thing. Like, mum, mum said previously on this podcast, I forgot what we were talking about or who we were talking about. Who we were talking with, I mean. But I remember you saying, like, what's with this trend of like wanting to become part of the 1% of people, like, you
Mm.
know, when hustlers
The hustle culture.
talk about being in the 1%, and mum's
Mm-mm,
like, I don't want to
mm,
be in the 1%, I want to be in the 99% of people, because
mm,
like that's where the
mm,
power is, isn't
But
it?
that's the program that runs in our society, is that we look
mm,
at these elites or people that
mm,
we judge as being above us
Yeah,
and
just
mm,
being
the
the
language and
language, using the word elite, 1%, all of this is like, we look at models who are, freakishly sized and freakish, they've got a
mm,
freakish shape, like, and we covet that and we kind of go,
mm,
oh, I could never be like that. That's so elevated. That's so amazing.
mm,
And I'm
mm,
just
mm,
this fatty, and I'm,
mm,
this whole
mm,
program that runs in
mm,
society, that we're
mm,
constantly chasing this carrot
yeah,
that is being dangled in front of us as being this amazing, thing. And we're forgetting to look at ourselves and what we already
mm,
have, and be see the value in
mm,
what exists in our own lives and what we
mm.
have to bring to the table and each other.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
They wanting each other, so we stop
yeah,
paying attention to them, and they
that's right.
appear to be better than us, so we stop looking.
Yeah,
Instead, we should be holding against humanity. Let's call this out.
of
You know,
course.
so
Of course.
so
Yes.
but we need to have enough understand that that's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So I think things are starting to happen in the Sound of Freedom and other things like that. There's a lot of really major things going on, and it's not just racist or that we disagree with the government or the medical
No,
people of
that's
the
right.
day.
that's
The name
So
calling and the labeling, and
the
yeah.
name calling has
Like
got to stop. Mm,
yeah.
sorry, keep going.
I've
Yeah.
what I've seen, and I would be interested in your view as well, Renee. What I've started to
Mm,
see, because I've only
mm,
really been aware of what's going on since 2020, like the deep stuff.
mm,
Um, and but over the last 3 years, what I have noticed in just that
mm,
short space of time is that people are starting to get fed up,
mm,
and they've got a gutful of being told by the messages filtering down through the media and through each other,
mm,
this policing thing that
mhm,
we've got going on with each other.
mhm,
People have had a gutful of
mhm,
it, and they're saying, like, just leave me alone now. I can work it out for myself. I can, I can feel that there's something not right, and I need,
mm,
it's sort of like from both sides. So it's from the messages coming down through the media and from
mm,
people who are awake, trying to wake them up. They're saying, just
mm,
leave me alone now.
mm.
I need to work it out for myself. This
Yep.
feeling of
Yep.
bugger off.
Yep.
And I'm
Yeah.
kind of like really feeling happy about that, because that
Yeah.
means that
Mm,
that line has been crossed in their boundary setting, and they're starting
mhm.
to realize the squish is telling them, okay, I need to do something here. I need to be aware. I need to
Wake up.
start waking up. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm feeling is happening
And
with
I
the
notice
collective right now.
when we're now getting not as good Wi-Fi as we're talking about this, though. It's all very so
Yeah,
um so we're listening, we know what's going on, but that's also the energy thing of um of the other side is criminal towards us.
Yeah.
Aid and abet these criminal behavior. All we have to do is hold love and light for each other, and we'll,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
So true.
I
Yeah.
have seen every which way of types over the last few years in therapy. Like almost every single side of the fence. I've been lucky enough to see almost everything. I even refuse to see unvaccinated clients. Some of my colleagues, like, this is
Yeah.
big deal stuff.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's happening in medicine. And all we need to wake up to ourselves and stop listening to some power that be tell us what to do and how to do our professional. So
Yeah.
the other thing is, how do we, who are just willing to stand, find our own support? That's tricky too.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been seeking.
Yes.
It's very few and far between. Let me tell you,
Yep.
need support at times, and therapists need therapy, and they need supervision, and they need all this kind. In order for me to do my job, I have to be energetic, right? And so that's the other reason
Yeah.
why therapists need their own support. We do a tough job, and we're dealing so that we're not vicariously traumatized. So
Yeah.
that we're not holding on to
Yeah.
too much ourselves, and we're saying, we're pushing back, that it then doesn't become ours if the client can't talk enough about this and why that's the case. But we are like, a good therapist is like the old, witch doctor or shaman or whatever, because come to the wise woman, come to the wise woman or wise man, and it's not
Yeah.
just there, you'll be all right. Having techniques and other things, and all of those people in the past, but even Plato and Aristotle and Socrates and people like that, everyone would come to them. It's
Mm.
based on their experience. A therapist has to live in the world too, and has to be allowed to have their own
Mm.
opinion. But I've found over the last
Yes.
3 years, speak and advocate for and on behalf of all of my clients, which is shocking from an
Yeah.
energy point of view. So everything shut down, everything.
Mm.
And how much
Yeah.
empathy people have for someone having a different opinion to their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, none.
Yeah. What I've seen is it's so heartbreaking that there are health professionals out there who were threatened, if you don't toe the line and take the narrative to the people, you will be shut down.
Yeah.
And so many
Mm,
people
mm,
who said, "Well, I'm not doing it because it's wrong," got shut
mm,
down. So they're no longer
mm,
available as support systems for
mm,
people. And
mm,
the
mm-hmm.
people that were like, "Okay, I'll do that," they sold out. They sold their soul,
Mm.
and they sold
Exactly.
the profession. They sold the profession out, and now it's harder for people who
Mm-hmm.
don't want to listen to the narrative and don't want to follow that line of advice. It's more difficult now for those people to find
Mm,
um, the support systems that they need,
Yeah.
exactly.
and it
Because
creates
there's
so
so
much more
many,
fear.
exactly, because there's so many who've
Yeah,
sold their soul, and on top of
yeah,
a state of complete denial, big,
Yeah.
yes,
don't want to admit you're part of the wrong crowd. No one wants to
yes,
Yeah.
admit they're part of the wrong crowd. Um,
yeah,
wants to think that what they're doing is just fine.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah?
So it kind of
But
feels to me like a bit of a pitfall where it's like there's all this underlying, there's these masses of people who have been
mm-hmm,
rejected and who are, against the narrative or
mm,
questioning the narrative. Even they don't even need to be against it, you just need to be asking
mm.
questions.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so
exactly.
I feel like these, yeah, I feel like these people are all going to find each other somehow, and it'll
Mm.
erupt.
Yeah. I also, something that I want to speak to is the fact that there is a narrative being pushed out, but the narrative and the truth, as we know, are two very different things.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
I was speaking with, while I was working, because I'm a bartender at the moment, and I was working, and these two American guys came in, and we were having like a really good conversation, just, you know, nothing particularly special, just, you know, like talking about whiskey. And then they were like, "Oh, do you have any other bar recommendations?" And because they were heading off, and I said, "Oh, well, if you go next door, it's a really nice bar, and I'm finished soon, so I might see you over there, because I sometimes go over when I finished." And so I finished up, and I went over and I sat down with these guys, and we had a whole conversation. And turns out that they're military guys,
There
and
you go.
they are like really they kind of know everything going down. I mean,
Military usually do.
they they know, they are they did take the jab, but
Mm.
they also, it was just such an interesting point of view from them, because they still were
Mm.
aware of everything, and they were just like, yeah, we did it because we love our job, and we didn't want to lose it, because
But they
unfortunately,
knew.
but they knew. And we were talking about, I was asking them questions about America, because being in Australia, you know, we
Mm.
hear
Mm.
on the media so many things about America, and it
Mm.
kind of seems like, from the media's narrative, that there's like almost like a civil war going on over there between the sides of politics, and that there's all these you know, it to me it very much seemed like, oh, okay, there's about 50-50 over there, but they were telling me no, like,
What is it?
there's like, everyone's aware, COVID was a huge awakening to everyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they were telling me, that you know, people aren't having it anymore, and you know, the media likes to, you know, say things and push their own stories, but coming
The
from
reality
us,
is very
the
different.
reality is that, like, everyone, when it came to politicians, everyone was going for Trump. He was telling me like, that Trump was huge and everyone loves him, like, over
Right.
there. um and
Did they comment on what it's like here? The difference?
yeah, they did. They were like, it's ridiculous over here, all your rules and regulations
Yeah,
and
right.
everything
What
like
about the
that.
people? Did they
They
say,
said that the people are really nice,
but
but
are they aware compared to America?
no,
No.
they said that it's a
Mm.
lot more as here.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought.
yeah, but also they're spending time in like the major cities,
Yeah.
which, if they went up to Byron, they would say would say differently, or even like, yeah,
Yeah.
Queensland. So I don't know, but
Yeah, you're right.
I just wanted to add, because even though there is a narrative, and there definitely is a large group of people believing the narrative and following the narrative and living as if the narrative is true, I want to place focus on those two guys who told me that it's very different over there.
Mm.
And
I'd be
Mm.
interested to have people like them on the show,
yeah,
actually.
and again, it's not like about politics,
Mm.
it's about the narrative. I, you know,
Yes, the
it's
narrative. That's what we're
The,
talking
that's what
about.
I'm
the
talking about.
narrative.
Yeah,
I just want to,
Yeah.
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 No, no, cool.
Can you give us a
Can I go?
tip?
Excellent.
Sorry,
Can
you
I
go.
go back to, no, 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 no. Can I go back to the narrative? Because I feel like I've also got something to say about that too. So I've both trained in how energy works from a trauma perspective, but I've also been trained
Right.
in, and I recently did upskilling with NLP. So I've got to talk about that. So a lot of my, you know, postgrad training is around narrative and around
Right.
text versus content. And so
Yeah,
that's a
right.
whole other kind of a whole other conversation for us as well. But if we want to go down this kind of rabbit hole, okay, so
Mm.
narrative is what is the you're running in your head. So it's the simplest way to put it. Um, every single person, whether we like it or not, live and die by that story.
Yeah.
But what you can actually change your story up. This is where things get really powerful. So imagine actually like a book, narrative approach. So you can then choose a different ending or choose another route or choose another way of seeing something. What if what's happening to you or has happened to you could actually be the best thing that's happened to you, not the worst thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if that thing that you're going through is the very thing that changes your life for the better?
Yeah.
As much as it hurts,
That's
right?
alchemy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the energy of things and the energy of
Yeah.
which is fascinating probably for you to hear. But in
Yes.
to get there for most people, they have to see and that's why the powers that stuck so that we can't see a creative way forward, so that humanity can't become creative again. They want to stay stuck and not uncover a new narrative. They want to create the narrative for us to get into our heads. So our masters. They are not our masters. Any of those people as my master. Thank you very much. End of story. So until we work out that the government is not on our side, masters, that they are not here to be helpful, benevolent towards us. So therapists have to work. I mean, this is where I get interesting and got really weird for me, and even my own personal narrative. It's like didn't make sense. It really, really didn't make sense. Therapists themselves, particularly counselors and psychotherapists, sign up with counselling associations and the like, and they usually have to sign these to be benevolent and non. These are all kind of big words. Basically, it's along the lines of what doctors do: do no harm, but also the next get do good. So it's not just do no harm, to do good as well. So I feel the last few years has actually been to do good, not just stay in the harm. I shouldn't touch that thing. I shouldn't. No, no, no. If we don't, we don't realize what's there. And that's the same for us in our lives. That we sometimes so that NLP talk about pain now or pain later.
Yeah.
Later, it's bigger, deeper, uglier. If we leave it too long to go to therapy, it gets better. If we leave it to go to a doctor, it's often worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
You know, I like how the NLP practitioners kind of, it's very simple. It's like, which, it's like red, which one are you going to choose? Pain now or pain later?
Yeah.
We're in pain. Now that there's pain around us, what are we going to choose? So choosing to stand up now is better than choosing to fight family later.
Yeah.
So this is kind of why I say enough's enough.
Yeah.
You are not my masters.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's a huge breaking of a habit that we've kind of made as a society. You know, everything's about convenience now. Everything's about quick, easy, you know, um, I want it now sort of thing. And when you follow that, you end up losing what matters. And, you know, facing your
Absolutely.
pain is a big part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note,
Wow.
there's even a psychological technical term around that stuff, and that's delaying gratification. Guess what?
Yeah.
Know that if they put phones and other things in their hands, we want instant gratification. Instagram, think about it. They're even using the psychological terms in the things that they've come up with. Gratification.
Yeah.
Mm, I
And
Yep.
never
they're
even thought of
using
that.
our own pain, own pain against us to remain in it. Because
Yeah.
if we work out that, to run a marathon, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, you got to start with running. You can't run a marathon in 100 meters, but that's what everybody thinks will be.
Yeah.
Right? We're now in the
Yeah.
marathon of all of our lives, and
Yeah.
most people don't know it and are just sticking their heads. They'll be the ones who die. If you
Mm.
death,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Are you still there, Renee?
I think I'm saying some things that the powers that be don't like.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
because
hear
you
you.
keep you're intermittent now with even with your voice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I caught that.
I did too. Yeah. You were saying that that
Yeah, it's still buffering.
I'm just checking our
Still here. I'm.
Yay!
Oh, there you are.
They're trying.
Yes.
They're trying to remove me.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you were saying was they're using instant gratification and our addiction to it against us so that
Yep.
we stop
Yep.
um, having the capability of delayed gratification where we do the hard yards to gain the biggest gain.
I think it's actually very interesting when you think about phones and technology because in just, I would say, less than 10 years, we've gone
Mm.
to a
Yeah,
place
in your
where
lifetime.
we as a society would literally have a what's not a catastrophe, that's too exaggerated, like a freak out, a public freak out. I think there would be raids and murders if all the phones were taken tomorrow and no one
Yep.
had a phone.
That's pretty
Yep.
catastrophic, though. If
I
people were
think it would
murdering.
be like riot level upheaval. Like people would go
I
insane.
agree.
Yeah,
People
so like
especially, they wouldn't know what to do.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I am terrified for society in that way. And I will admit, I like there is fear in me about that because you go back not even 20 years, not even 20 years,
Mm.
and you'll
Mm. Mm.
people without a cell phone, totally fine, didn't even like think much of it, you know? It was just like,
Well,
oh,
because
Mm.
it
I
wasn't a
left my
huge
phone
thing.
at home, you know? And you go 20 years before that, and it wasn't even a thought beyond, what's on the wall, There was no, it was just a thing of like, oh, this is cool. I can talk to whoever I want across,
Well,
the
sometimes it was
country.
even annoying when the phone
Yeah, it
rang.
was even annoying.
It was like,
Yeah.
oh, who's ringing now?
And to go from that to now this in 100 years we've gone from the ability as a society, and I'm saying as a collective because I know at an individual level it's different, but as a collective, we in 100 years we went from being able to grow our own food,
Mm.
that being a necessity, not even just the ability, but that being an actual necessity of life, you know um
The knowledge of.
the knowledge of growing your own food, your own at home little first aid, and like being able to come up with your own remedies and things so you wouldn't have to go to the doctor unless necessary. We went from that sort of thing to now people are growing gardens because it's fun.
We're keep we're very dependent now.
Very dependent now.
We've
Yes.
become very dependent on the things outside ourselves. We're not very self-sufficient. Well, unless you take an interest, that's the thing. They're not. It's not knowledge that's handed down from your parents. It's
Yeah.
like a huge disconnect happened
Yeah.
when we were in the world wars. Because are you still there, Renee? Maybe she'll come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a huge disconnect when World War One and Two happened.
Yeah.
This knowledge that was passed down through the generations ceased to exist because so many men died. Our focus was on surviving rather than like in the war and rations and things like that. Then we didn't have the time and the energy to focus on
Mm.
growing our own food and things like that. Like generations of people were lost
Yeah.
during that
And
time.
it what scares me about it is not necessarily like the rapid change. What scares me is that if the internet was to go down tomorrow and we had a massive blackout, my generation, I don't know if they would know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, like millennials as well, like unless you've got a deep interest in survival, in you know um, growing your own food, unless you've already invested energy and time into learning and experiencing those things, it would be really hard for people, the younger generations, to exist. I think it's
Actually,
possible.
Renee's gone.
She's gone.
Yeah, so maybe we could try and get her back. Do you
Yeah,
know how to
okay.
do that? Well,
Um,
see, she's not.
yeah,
She's on our screen, but she's not on the Facebook screen.
yeah, okay. I'll maybe tell her to leave and come back.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Renee?
Maybe just message her
Yeah. Can
and
you
I'll keep blabbing my mouth.
leave and come?
Yeah, so that's what scares me about society right now. I think it would be good though if we all had a massive blackout in some aspect. It just I imagining the because we talk about solar flares and we talk about like what would happen if the grid shut down. Think about the money. How much money is just a number on a screen that you have to access via the internet? Like all my money is right now. So I should probably change that. Yeah, like it's just
Yeah, that I
the
think
repercussions from it because we've built our society.
if that happened, it's just let's just entertain that thought for a second.
Yeah.
If that happened, and there was a solar flare and knocked out the internet, knocked out everything, what we would no longer value money. We would no longer value it. What we would value
I think we would
is
value cash.
no, because we would what for? Cash would mean nothing.
There's like
We would value
cartels, gangs.
we would value things like food and water and
maybe
hunting.
at first.
Hunting, we would. Money would mean nothing. Trading for money, it would be like, what am I going to do with this? I can't eat it.
But I think it's
Because that system that's in place where money is a banknote that
but money was the thing before electricity and the internet.
I know, I'm talking about like those systems go down and you know, supply chains stop. There's no longer, you know, the garbage bin guys don't come anymore and take your rubbish away. So now what you need is land to grow food. So you need a backyard. So people in units would then have to start utilizing the land around them.
Yeah, like parks. That would be actually kind of cool.
Yeah, so people would then have to, like, the survival instincts would kick in and you would need clean water, food and shelter. They're the three things that you would need.
Yeah.
And money doesn't give you that, because you could go up to somebody and say, I'll give you $20 for something, but they're like, what can I do with $20? If you give me a bag of grain, I can do something with that, but I can't do anything with paper money.
I think I agree with you that trading would be much more of a thing.
Mm.
I agree that trading would be more, maybe utilized more over cash, but I don't think cash would die. I think it would still be a thing. Because just, yeah, I don't know. There would still be, there would be less of a narrative because they won't,
It
they
would
don't.
depend how much society collapsed. If it really collapsed, like you're saying, and there was no,
Like apocalyptic.
yeah, well, if the internet goes out and things like that, we've got no all our systems are run through that. So we don't have systems to say communicate to different areas of society to say, well, this is how we run.
Yeah, this is why I want a sailboat.
Because like
Can
even uh, traffic lights and things like that would go off. So you, driving would be very difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
Because all our systems they rely on computers. They're all automated.
It's terrifying.
And that's the thing, like, because we're so addicted to our phones, and we're so the systems that we operate in, even in our daily lives, are reliant on the internet and phones and things like that. Communication would stop, so you would only be able to communicate with the people who are in your vicinity.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be communicating with people far away anymore.
Yeah.
And things like fuel, so petrol, how are we going to get petrol, how are we going to drive our cars, how all of those things that let society run. I mean, we saw a little glimpse of it during COVID.
Yeah.
And we realized that the things that we covet, like actors and sports people and things like that, were pretty much useless in that moment. And what we needed was the garbage men and doctors and nurses and those types of trades that actually they're vocational. They're people are doing them because they're called to do them, like the medical industry and teachers, people like that. We relied so much more heavily on them during that time of crisis. And it's like, I remember people saying, why are we so fixated on celebrity and music, and sports, when they don't, that's just entertainment. They don't actually help our society run.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, those questions are really, really important. Anyway, I'm going to see where Renee is, because I've had my little rant now. It's not allowing me back in. I think I said too much. Oops. Oh. I think what we'll do is we'll have Renee on again.
Yeah, definitely.
To keep this conversation going. So
for sure.
I'm going to let her know.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's right though. We did touch on some things. I mean, when we had that conversation with Nancy, that video was taken down.
Yep.
So yeah, I think
we have had some. Although I think, like, this is the thing though. I believe that we can still talk about everything like how we did today, because you don't name call, you don't pick out the names, you don't be very specific. You have to be a bit general.
Yeah.
And the people who get it will get it.
Yes. Yes.
It's kind of crazy though when, the narrative is that we're crazy and liars and we're insane people for believing these things, but somehow they care so much about it.
Oh. Yes! Yay! You didn't give up, Renee.
Yeah. Do you know, I work on Zoom a lot. Like, the amount of times as 3 have been shut down compared to anything else I've ever done. But whenever I talk to the universe and this kind of space about energy, that's when I get shut down.
Yeah.
To talk about energy. They don't. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So they don't want us to talk about energy. and because we have our own power source within us of energy. We do.
Yeah.
And we need.
They couldn't keep you down, Renee. They couldn't keep you down. You're back.
Coming back. I don't like it, but I'm always coming back.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I've only 4 minutes that I can chat. Did you have any more questions for me? Because I'm going to have to get going soon.
Well, yeah, Juliet and I were talking actually while you were trying to come back
Yeah,
in.
we're entertaining the crowd.
And we were talking about the state of society if the internet, if there was a solar flare and everything
Yeah.
went out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Juliet thinks that money would still be a system that we
Like cash.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, I don't think so. I don't think it would be as important as it is now, because you can't eat money. You can't, well, you
Yep.
can burn money, but it would only burn for like 2 seconds. But, we need shelter, we need food, and we need water and warmth,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if money is still a form of value in society, then it would continue. But if we don't see a value in it, then we're not going to
Mm.
be, people are going to try and be giving us money, and we're going to say, well, what am I going to do with that? I can't eat that. But if we gave you a box of vegetables or a bag of grain or something, then
Mm.
that would be quite valuable to somebody, like,
Yep.
because it takes time and energy and water and
Mm.
resources to
Mm.
grow that food.
Yep. Yep.
And so we're going to really cherish something like that.
Well, why do you think they've been poisoning things and they're poisoning our water?
Mm.
If people aren't aware of this, we need to talk to this too. This is like bad stuff.
Yeah.
Up. I don't know if you've on top of that one. This is big deal stuff, and then
Yep.
past the Northern Rivers area, west of the Northern Rivers, they're trying
Yeah.
to impact our. The food bowl of New
Mm-hmm.
South Wales feeds a lot of the country of Australia, all of that area, like kind of,
Yeah.
and they're trying to impact the waterways up there, and they're now trying to impact. Most people are not aware that the Great Artesian Basin is waterways underneath our Earth. And we have one of the biggest waterways in the world underneath Earth. And we are not protecting it. And we're starting to drill down now for the first time in Australia's history. We're now drilling into that. Most people are not aware of this stuff. I can prove this. You might want to look at a woman by the name of Aisha. She's on Instagram. She's talking about it. The rivers up there are now being set alight. They're that poisonous, right? So literally,
Right.
they're pretty much on fire. They're that bad. With that pollution is going to go into the waterways and then also into the food bowl that feeds us all. We're going to need to start getting better at growing our own food. Not going to be able to trust the food that comes into our supermarkets. Really. And so
It's already started.
and you're absolutely right about the food. There's a whole other kind of thing about bartering then, or if you don't have food.
Mm.
The reason why money exists is almost like for energy exchange of, okay, so you made that food, how do I get that from you? And that's why money exists. You might not have the wherewithal yourself to grow that food, but somebody else might have it. How do I get that from you to me? And why do you think they try to transport and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
It's that they would try how it would go. And in Australia, we thousands of miles to sometimes get the right kind of food. So the infrastructure in Australia is based on trucking, and the guys did fight back to some degree. This is where it gets really interesting. If they shut down the roadways in Australia, if they shut down the waterways or the waterways become too polluted that we can't even grow anything, we're in trouble, right? So we take for granted just going to the store and picking up, some. Even this is whether it's good food, nourishing food, or just a tin or a can of something.
Yeah.
We take that all for granted. And the other part of this that happened in the 1930s was stagflation, and there's all sorts of things that, so not just inflation, it can kind of like it like troughs, and people have talked about this, that's what might come to. So there's just so many different things. There's a woman by the name of Catherine Austin Fitz. I don't know, but she's worth everybody looking at if you haven't come across her, around what could happen financially to the world as a result of all of this stuff that's just happened. So
Yeah.
we're at this void phase. All that has to happen is just, and it all comes down. So I keep saying this kind of thing to a lot of people. It's like, we're not using our, that's for starters, but also it's like the world is actually being toothpicks at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
it's all about to
Yeah.
blow. It's going to go. Yeah, which way?
Yeah.
And I hope you prepared out there, because it's not just any kind of conspiracy. The issue is we about, and you just have to look at what they did with toilet paper. Like how, I mean, that's like Pavlov's dogs. I don't know if everybody is across Pavlov's dogs, but like just for the listeners, like they almost just go this ding-a-ling, and everyone goes, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, if you do that, and if you just have a bell rung like from the powers that be, you're controlled.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on top of that, you're not even thinking to yourself, I need to go and get that toilet paper. Does that actually mean you have to do that? Just that's one example. The same thing goes any other, anything, and they do it on social media about the latest beauty product or whatever.
Yeah.
Up, and I've gone to social media marketing training over the years because I'm on social media, my business, and I was often appalled, actually pushed certain things in my marketing approach. Is they use neuromarketing. They're actually marketing to our brains on purpose so that we remain stuck. So keep those things. They actually know how to do that. Actually, science, and they are actually doing it to us. And they have designed the phones and Instagram and Facebook like the pokies. Sorry, guys. That's how they've designed it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Dating apps too.
yeah, dating apps too. Yeah, all of that stuff. So we got to start doing things differently. With pain now, pain later. That's the energy kind of side of things.
Yeah. We got to get real.
Yeah. Have real hard conversations and be reasonable to. So that's kind of what I just wanted to say. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
so glad you got to come back on.
I genuinely loved this conversation so deeply. So much important things to be talked about that we don't talk about very often because we're more of like the higher realm sort of things. And we did talk about that, but it was good to talk about the actual things happening on this planet,
Yeah.
So I really appreciate everything that you shared, Renee, and all your wisdom. It was so
we'll have you
valuable.
back on. Yeah, we'll have you back on so we can continue the conversation.
So, and this is for everyone listening, but also for you guys, like, not to that I went off on tangents or have opinions about things. I think this is kind of important that there's, and that's I guess what this conversation's about, that there's energy literally in every single thing that you do, and your energy will you forward, hold you back, depending on how you've
Oh, way to end it.
Yes. Thank you, Renee.
Okay, and thank you everyone
No
for
worries.
watching. Um, if you just want to stay just for like 1 minute, Renee, once I press stop, just so it finishes uploading,
Yep.
and then yeah. But we'll leave everyone. Thank you so much, and
See you next week.
Yes.